Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. We're off to a new year. So hopefully everyone has travel plans because that's our travel business. Please reach out to us if you're looking to book travel or plan travel at traplans.com. That's something that we do for people. On the side, for the last several years, I've been doing expat consulting, people that want to move specifically to Portugal, and not so much helping with visa or the NIF or a bank account, but really trying to find and assess property for them as well as reviewing contracts. So if that's something that interests you, please reach out to me. My email is in the About section. Don't hesitate. I'd be happy to start working with you. Today, I wanted to talk and reflect a little bit about 4 years in Portugal. We recently started our 5th year in the country, and I wanted to give you a little perspective of the Portugal that we moved to in 2019, some of the opportunities and then what's changed over those 4 years here, and then what the future may hold. So we'll kind of dive into all of those, and hopefully some of this along the way will help you if you're undecided about Portugal, or if you are, or if Portugal wasn't even a thought for you. Maybe there'll be some ideas here that may help make you consider Portugal as an option for other destinations as well. So I'll start out when we were looking in 2017, 2018, coming here, a couple of things. So affordability. It showed up on every social media site in many different countries, on your feeds, number one place for retirement, top 3 place for vacation. It became like the hot spot, the hot country for travel related channels, and anyone interested in travel, you got to come to Portugal. And then if you're looking to live, retirement, because of the affordability and at the time some of the advantages given to immigrants moving here. So we got caught up in that as well, because that's all we were seeing every day: Portugal, 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 Portugal. So coming here a few times, obtaining a property, we were serious about moving here. And in 2019, as we moved here, a couple of things that were in play. Golden visa, not something that we did, but the golden visa at the time allowed you to buy property in Lisbon, where we're at, or Porto, or the Algarve, anywhere in Portugal, 500,000 or more. In major cities, I think it was 350,000 euros or more in the country areas, rural areas, and you could obtain property through the golden visa. There were other ways that you can get a golden visa, but that's now almost all gone. There's a few avenues that you can still do it as we're in 2024, but the real estate piece has gone away. So that was available to you if you wanted to in 2019. Also, the most hotly contested piece from an immigrant standpoint, and how many of you have recently found me on YouTube, is through NHR videos, the tax regime that has now essentially gone away as of the 1st of January 2024. That was available in 2019 to people that were moving. So for up to 10 years, if you were working, you would have a 20% cap on taxes in Portugal. And if you were retired, so you were a pensioner, it was 0%. So that is something that while we were here and after moving, it went to 10%, and now it's going to go away. So if you were outside and you were researching Portugal and you were looking for, I'll say, the best bang for your buck or your pound or your euro, was to get into Portugal, because from an immigrant standpoint, they were giving us opportunities and deals that they weren't affording their own people, which is kind of weird. So it's understandable why some of that has been curtailed. We'll see in the future, though, if some of these opportunities may come back. So enough about how we got here. The experience of 4 years of being here have been fantastic on several different levels. So let's talk about personal growth. Was able to write a couple of books while I was here. Was not able to obtain a job right away here, because 6 months after we moved, and as I've been waiting for immigration process to be legal, there was an opportunity. But while that opportunity presented itself, I still didn't have my residency. And then the world shut down at the end of March of 2020. So things got a little hairy when it came to that aspect, which created YouTube channel and some other consulting businesses and things that I started. But outside of the time that the world shut down, which impacted all of us probably differently, and there were some common threads to probably what we all a shared experience. The people here have been fantastic. So what I mean by that, really the locals, the Portuguese, 99% of them have been fantastic. There's 1% that do make it known in a restaurant here and there. There will be a few people only because they recognize me from YouTube that will say something on the street. It's rare. It's more that people will send direct messages, will send an email about what they don't like about me, come from the United States, what they don't like about the US, frankly, go home and we want our country back. That's generally the gist of most of those emails. So outside of that, and if you're going to have a YouTube channel, just a pro tip, you're going to deal with people that don't like the content that you have. So you have to have some, I think, some thick skin to be able to produce the content and not have that get you upset. The people have been great. Some of the interesting things that we've learned here is I've talked openly about I didn't pay attention to politics. I tried not to back home because it's too ridiculous. And here, that's something I missed out on. I wish I knew more about because that way I could be in tune with especially recent events of what's happened a few months ago, Prime Minister resigning, and just how that plays, the Portugal politics, how that plays out in the country. Be good to know more about that. But the food, we knew it was good food when we moved, good wine. We enjoy wine. I'll be honest, we live in Lisbon. I like the Portuguese food outside of Lisbon more so than I do inside, as well as much as you can get different wine from around the country in Lisbon. Oddly enough, I like the ethnic food that's non-Portuguese in Lisbon more than I like the Portuguese food in Lisbon. Now, it's just an opinion, but I think sometimes when we go south of Lisbon to Sesimbra, Setúbal, Sinege, go into the interior Alentejo region, going north, even Porto, I think that the Portuguese do a better job of the food is better, Peniche, Nazaré. And what I mean by that, the seafood, the meat, the dishes just seem to be in general better. I think in Lisbon they don't try as hard because they figure it's tourists, they don't know the difference. It's not to say that there's not fantastic places here. There are amazing Portuguese places in Lisbon. But what we've found is when we've gone outside, we've complimented or commented more on the local Portuguese cuisine outside of Lisbon more so than we do when we're here. And part of that may just be a function of we're here day to day and we're eating the same stuff at mostly the same places. But it is a point to note, if Lisbon is your destination and whatever your take is on the food, if you love the food, you'll love the food when you're outside of Lisbon. If you're so-so on the Portuguese food, when you leave and you go to a small town or other cities in the country, I think you'll really enjoy it. But we knew all that coming in. The day-to-day of living here, getting to know people, getting to know Portuguese, difficult, but that's no different than any country that you live in. I think you tend to stick with people that either speak the same language, or you find people through groups and social meetings that have a common experience, most likely from where you're from. So that's not a difficult thing. We have some Portuguese friends that we have great conversations at their restaurants. So often we try to go in between, let's say, 3 and 5 if it's a snack bar. So they're still open, but there's not many people there. So that's when we talk about how the families are doing. We discuss, learn a lot about Portuguese politics, social movements, things like that, in those off hours for them when they can have a drink or have some coffee. And we're the only ones there, and we can talk to them about what day-to-day life is like. I will say something that I would impress upon, and of course I'm going to say this because we're a travel agency, is travel throughout the country. just as I experienced the food. You'll have different regions with different food specialties, different wine. So the whole country is nothing but one big wine barrel. But the nuances in the wine between the Tejo region, where we're at, the Alentejo, which is amazing, the Dow, Douro. I would highly encourage you, if you like wine, to go experience and do wine tastings throughout the country and to see the country. I've said this early on in videos and I've gotten away from it. Portugal has just a ton of history here, and history that has influenced the world, history that's influenced Europe. A number of, if you are into ancient history, again, Lisbon itself is older than Rome, London, or Paris. So if you're a history nerd, like I am, a history buff, there's a ton of history here dating back thousands of years up through current and modern day that you can go explore. So for being a smaller country, there's a ton to do here. And if you also are thinking about, well, I want an affordable life, I love going to Europe to travel, and I want like a home base or someplace I can come to often, Portugal's a great option for that. And I wanted to speak next about the cost of living and the prices living here. Oddly enough, going to the grocery store, there's some things from 2019 that are the same prices in 2023, 2024. Some household goods haven't changed with inflation. Yes, prices have gone up. Produce, so fruits and vegetables, meat we found has gone up. Fish has gone up the most. Salmon, we eat a lot of salmon. We've seen salmon prices in more places go up. Where we have noticed it more is because although we eat home on most lunches and dinners, when we do go out, we tend to stick to a Portuguese tasca or snack bar, they're called. So it's just a typical, depending on what country you're from, you may refer to it almost like a diner. So comfort food, traditional food. So we have 7 of those that are within a 5-minute walk of us. And when we moved in 2019, they were 6 to 7 euros for lunch. You can also, often they close at dinner time or after dinner. And when I say after, like 6, 7 o'clock. So when other restaurants are opening at 7, they'd be closing. But let's say a lunch meal, a prato do dia, sometimes you may refer to that as like an executive meal, would be a main dish of a meat and fish, usually some rice and potatoes, either boiled or fried, maybe a little salad. A small drink, so imperial, which would be a small beer, a water or a glass of wine, and a coffee, 6 to 7 euros for all of that. And it's a good amount of food. In 2023, 2024 here, we're looking at those same places are $9.50 to $12.50, those same 7 restaurants for the same thing. It's the same meat or fish dish, the small drink, and coffee. So we do see that when we're going out. So we actually are more impacted when we go out for dinner or go out for lunch, and the prices have really changed for food and drink. Not as much at the grocery store. I've made a couple of videos over the years of going to a Pingo Doce, which is next to us and is probably the most prevalent supermarket across Portugal. And many of the prices are very similar. And again, some of them have been static for 4 years, which I think is pretty amazing. So now I want to get to the main point of why people will not come to Portugal down the road. It's the tax change. And those of you watching my content as well as watching other content, that's really what has, frankly, why many of you have watched our channels. And I've noticed recently since that change, how many people have commented or emailed me from a consulting standpoint going, we're not going to look at Portugal. So the consulting business is going to be, it's going to change this year, that's for sure. It's going to be minimal amount of clients. But the amount of people that are looking to move to Portugal now, it's, I will say, as you look at social media feeds and you see your own feeds and you talk to other people, Portugal, the light is no longer shining on Portugal the way it was. It's now focusing on like a Croatia, a Lithuania, some other emerging country or smaller countries within Europe that have now maybe put more marketing dollars into trying to get them to be the vacation hotspot for the next few years, or maybe the next expat destination. But I will say to you, those of you that are still looking at Portugal, or that if you're on the fence, it's still a great place to be. And I will say you do have to contemplate taxes, and you have to do that wherever you're moving to. I think it's short-sighted to move to a place singularly for taxes, but if it's thousands of dollars along the way, completely understand why you would move if you're getting out of a situation where you can save a lot of money. I'll say from a tax perspective, those of us that are from the U.S. realize we're getting taxed on all foreign and domestic income, so we can't escape the tax man. So I will say the 7,000 or 8,000 Americans that are living in Portugal right now, who knows what the future will hold. There will certainly be many Americans that will no longer consider Portugal, but I think there will be people from other countries that will be considering Portugal no different than what they have for decades. The British have moved here long before there was an NHR. The French have moved here long before there was an NHR. There are several countries, Italians were moving here for long decades before the NHR as well. Those are some big populations. There's also Brazilians coming because of the common language. I don't think that's going to change. So what I'm excited about is to see, or I'll say I'm interested. Don't know I'm necessarily excited about politics, but I'm interested to see what happens with the elections in 2024, how they reshape, they have to redo another budget, what goes on with the Lisbon airport, which is, because we travel, we're very always checking out airports, the good and the bad. And it seems like for 20 or 30 years, they've been debating about another airport, and we'll see if they ever resolve that or if it'll be another 20 or 30 years before they decide on something. But as we continue to grow and move with Portugal, we're trying to evolve with Portugal too, because the personal growth, being able to write 2 books, create a consulting business, do YouTube. My wife continued to work for her company. The day-to-day life is pretty doggone good here, and so that in and of itself, I think, makes Portugal, to me, a really good place to live, and it helps solidify why we moved here to begin with. The future, it's the last piece of this, is where does the future hold? There are a number of people that have made videos, we're leaving Portugal, or Portugal's no longer for us, or Portugal's dead, and well, Portugal's alive and well. We're here for the time being. Part of it is my wife's work. The contract, as it keeps getting renewed, we're here. If at some point the job changes or it doesn't get renewed, or if we decide that we're not interested in Portugal anymore, we'll move someplace else, and I'll make videos about someplace else. But as we're in year 5 now, we're contemplating, do we go for citizenship? And that's something that if you're going to be here past that 5-year mark, you're able to entertain that. So we're starting year 5. We've talked to our attorney about what that looks like. Are we going to move forward with it or not? And so we're on the fence, because sometimes getting the extra passport might be advantageous, but we're not sure that we're really going to go that route. We may just continue, and permanent residency, we may not do that either. We may just renew our temporary visa, and as it gets extended for a couple of years at a time, keep playing that out, waiting to see what happens with my wife's work and where we are in the world and how things go. But I hope, as you're watching this channel, that you continue to look at Portugal as a potential option for you. Again, you may have many places that you want to move to, Or after you see countries evolve, you may decide that at the end you're going to stay home, wherever home is. But I hope if you're interested in Portugal, please reach out. Love to start a dialogue with you, some email exchanges. If you're interested in specific aspects of Portugal, please leave a comment so I can look at potentially making a future video. But I'd say our time here has been fantastic. It's been what we anticipated. So from setting our expectations, it's met our expectations. It hasn't exceeded our expectations, and that's not a knock on Portugal or anything like that. It's mean complimentary. We try to really research things. So we knew what we were getting into, and it's exactly what we thought we were getting into, which is a good thing. And I would say for those of you looking to move, I would not hesitate to try to do it. And because of the changes that have happened here in Portugal, you may be considering another country that you're looking to move to. And as they change their policies, and some of that may be more pro or anti-immigrant related, no time like the present. Do it. Do it now. Do it this year, even if it's a couple of years and you move back to your former country, your home country, before your mind and your body starts failing you, which is one of the main reasons that we moved abroad to begin with, is we wanted to be able to have this experience. So when we were older, we didn't look back and go, we wish we woulda, coulda, and now we're not in a position where we can. So make sure that as you're thinking about where you're moving to, don't hesitate, because laws, policies, things can change, and try to take advantage of a place while you can get into it and enjoy it. So that's my advice to you. That's kind of a recap of our 4 years, starting 5 years in Portugal. It's been a great experience, and I try to give you some of the good and the bad along the way in my daily videos. But this is a great place. So please consider it. Please reach out if you have questions. And as always, thank you so much for watching the channel, and enjoy your travels.